Making headlines. Fisheries Minister successfully concludes his tour of Africa as the special envoy of the President. Economic Minister emphasizes that investments in Maldives are increasing due to the boost in investor confidence towards the country. And US says it is concerned about Turkey's destabilizing activities in northwest Syria and emphasizes that Turkey is an important NATO ally.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Nasma Abdul Mohsin and this is PSM News. Former President of Maldives, Ma'mun Abdul Qayyum, receives the Milan Cricket Academy Gold Medal for the remarkable work done to promote cricket in Maldives. The gold medal and plaque was conferred by the founder of Milan Cricket Academy, Farhad Jalil, at a ceremony held at Hemveru Fulidu. Speaking at the ceremony, Farhad Jalil stated that the award is presented in acknowledgement for the contribution of the former president. Former President Ma'mun thanked the Academy for its tremendous work done to promote cricket in the Maldives and highlighted that the Academy has achieved a lot in a short period of time. Noting that cricket was introduced in Maldives more than 100 years ago, Ma'mun, with regret, cited that the sport is not that popular among Maldivians due to the priority given to other sports. Former President Ma'mun has served to develop cricket players in his term of presidency. Minister of Fisheries and Agriculture Dr. Mohammed Shaini successfully concludes his tour of Africa as the special envoy of the President. The Maldivian Fisheries Minister was on a three-country tour of Africa as part of the international campaign to secure a United Nations Security Council seat for the Maldives. Speaking with media upon returning to Maldives, Fisheries Minister Shaini noted that discussions held with foreign ministers were successfully and noted that discussions mainly focused on supporting Maldives on securing a seat at the United Nations Security Council for the term 2019 to 2020. The Fisheries Minister said all the countries positively expressed confidence in Maldives and what the country has to offer in the United Nations Security Council. During his visit, Minister Shaini called on the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Tanzania, Augustine Philip Mhangia, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Mozambique, Jose Kondunga Antonio Pachuco, and Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation of South Africa, Llewellyn Tyrone Landers. During the meeting with the heads of the foreign officers, Minister Shaini conveyed greetings from the Maldivian President and underscored the strategic importance of further enhancing bilateral and multilateral ties between Maldives and Africa. Furthermore, Minister Shaini also held bilateral consultations with his counterparts, Minister for Livestock and Fisheries of Tanzania, Luhaga Joelson Mpina, Minister of the Sea, Inland Waters and Fisheries of the Mozambique, Agostino Salvedo Mondlane, and Minister of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries of South Africa, Senzeni Zokwana. During the meetings, both sides reflected on the close friendly relations between the Maldives and Africa, with Minister Shaini reassuring the readiness of Maldives to engage with partners in Africa in various areas of development, especially in sustainable fisheries. Minister of Economic Development Mohammed Said departs to Hong Kong to finalize a free trade agreement between Maldives and Hong Kong. On the four-day official visit, Economic Minister Said will hold several discussions with relevant members of the administration of Hong Kong. The official discussions of the free trade agreement between Maldives and Hong Kong commenced in September 2016. Economic Ministry revealed that signing a free trade agreement with Hong Kong will further boost the economy of the country. In December 2017, Maldives signed a free trade agreement with China. Minister of Economic Development Mohammed Said emphasizes that investments in Maldives are increasing due to the boost in investor confidence towards the country. In a tweet posted regarding investments, Economic Minister Said reiterated that with the unique development agenda of President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum, Maldives is experiencing a new era. Minister Said stated that the huge investments such as the Embudu Lagoon project are proof that the economic agenda of President Yamin is accepted globally. Government of the Maldives has been exerting major efforts to boost the investments in Maldives. Maldives recently established a free trade agreement with China in an attempt to further boost the Maldivian economy and investment opportunities. Asset magazine awards the prestigious AAA Country Award for the best bond issued by Maldives in the international market. The Asset's annual AAA recognition, now in its 19th year, represents the industry's most prestigious awards for banking, finance, treasury and the capital markets. The call on May 2017 to issue bond to an international market for the first time in Maldives received an overwhelming response from investors, with oversubscriptions hours after the announcement. Maldives received the award for its $200 million 5-year maturity international bond listed in the Singapore Stock Exchange. The recognition by the Asset AAA Awards was recognized among the best deals in South Asia in 2017. Authorities described the achievement as another milestone for the Maldivian debut bond issue. Maldives Getaways signs with partners for second edition of Corporate Maldives Gold 100.
Gold 100, the first initiative of its kind, is a list of top 100 business entities in the Maldives, published by premium business and hospitality magazine Corporate Maldives. The main objective of Gold 100 and Gold 100 Gala is to distinguish and appreciate the work done by prolific leaders of the business community in the Maldives. A strict selection criterion that is both transparent and unbiased ensures that the entities on the list are indeed the Gold 100 of Maldives. Speaking at the signing ceremony between Maldives Getaways and the partners of the second edition of Gold 100 2018, held at Champa Central Hotel, Chief Operating Officer of Maldives Getaways, Dr. Hussein Sani Umar, stated that the most prestigious awards of the ceremony would be the individual awards presented in human resources, marketing finance, CSR and operational excellence. Sani Umar added that the main purpose of conferring awards to individuals is to acknowledge and appreciate the work to promote the business sector of the country. Corporate Maldives will award 2 lifetime achievements in order to recognize the visionary business leaders who have made significant contributions to the Maldivian business community. Bank of Maldives has signed as the title partner for Gold 100, while Dirago, Maldives Transport and Contracting Company, State Trading Organization, PSM Supplies Maldives and M7 Print Private Limited signed as Gold partners. Official media partners include a Public Service Media, Sun Media, Avas Media, Maldives Insider and Corporate Maldives. The Gold 100 initiative is endorsed by Maldives Monetary Authority, Maldives Privatization and Corporatization Board, Maldives Pension Administration Office, Capital Market Development Authority and Maldives Stock Exchange. The backing of these governing bodies in various aspects ensures the strength of Gold 100 as an industry standard. Maldives Getaways revealed that the list will be published in alphabetical order, as the list is not intended to rank business entities but is devised to be a selection of the top business entities. The second edition of Corporate Maldives Gold 100, jointly by Maldives Getaways and Corporate Maldives, is scheduled to be held on February 22nd at Bandos, Maldives.
The recently approved U.S. tax reform has raised concerns in Europe about the potential negative impacts on the European economy. U.S. President Donald Trump signed into law the biggest overhaul of the U.S. tax code in over 30 years, which went into effect this month. The $1.5 trillion US tax reform plan looks to jumpstart the economy by changing the way corporations are taxed. The move is set to intensify competition for investment between the U.S., Europe, and the rest of the world. By slashing the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%, it brings the U.S. in line with the European Union.
U.S. corporations will also no longer be taxed on income generated abroad to incentivize multinationals to bring that wealth back to the U.S. For instance, Apple has already announced plans to repatriate about $250 billion US held in overseas cash. However, in Europe, there are concerns that multinationals' large foreign deposits could be sent from the European Union to the US. As a result, European banks such as Barclays says that they could lose between $1 to $3 billion US. Economic expert at Bank Degroof Petercam Bruno Coleman said European Union countries will be worried because there is a race to the bottom concerning corporate tax rates.
Countries will be worried because there is a race to the bottom concerning corporate tax rates. We see that the UK has increased the tax rate, Holland did the same, Belgium is about to do it. So basically the message being given by the US is that the tax war has started. It will raise heavy political debates in Europe because there is a pressure against decreasing corporate tax rate.
In fact, the European recovery is hitting its stride. Economic forecasts predict that the Eurozone GDP will rise by 1.9% in 2018. So despite some short-term volatility, ultimately the European Union may benefit as a consequence of the US tax reform. Some Europe-based experts see it as an opportunity to increase competition here. Economic Director at Business Europe James Watson believes it will be important that European Union member states look at the overall and competitiveness offer in the context of the changing global environment.
I think it will be important that EU member states look at their overall competitiveness offer, if you like, that they do look at it in the context of the changing global environment. So for some member states, it may be that they decide that yes, their corporate tax rates are a little bit too high and they need to reduce them. For others, it may be around infrastructure investment, or it may be around labour market reform to make it more attractive to employ workers in that context.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi tells the World Economic Forum that protectionism is gaining ground and globalization is losing its appeal, but India is open for business.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is leading a big government and business delegation to the summit in Davos, aiming to showcase India as a fast-growing economic power and a potential driver of global growth. Modi, making the forum's first speech by an Indian head of state in more than 2 decades, did not mention US President Donald Trump by name, but he criticized the rise of protectionism in remarks delivered 3 days before the US President will address the summit. Modi said climate change was a major threat to the world, yet the world had failed to come together to tackle it. He said everyone wanted carbon emissions to be cut, but the rich world was not ready to help developing economies with new technology. India, which is one of the world's fastest-growing major economies and a growing contributor to pollution, has said it is keen to honor its commitment to clean up the environment despite Trump pulling out of the Paris Accord on cutting carbon emissions.
Myanmar officials say they were ready to begin accepting returning Rohingya Muslim refugees despite a delay in the repatriation process.
Myanmar has set up 2 reception centers for those returning and said that it was prepared to receive 300 people a day to begin with, then reviewed after 3 months to see if it can be accelerated. Myanmar and Bangladesh agreed earlier this month to complete the voluntary repatriation of the refugees within 2 years. But Bangladesh delayed the repatriation of the refugees, because the process of compiling and verifying the list of people to be sent back is incomplete. The decision came as tensions has risen in camps holding hundreds of thousands of refugees, some of whom were opposing their transfer back to Myanmar because of what they said is a lack of guarantee for their safety. More than 688,000 Rohingya Muslims had fled to Bangladesh since August 25th last year after the Myanmar military cracked down in the northern part of Rakhine state amid witness reports of deadly violence and rape.
State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert states that U.S. is concerned about Turkey's destabilizing activities in northwest Syria and emphasizes that Turkey is an important NATO ally.
Turkey has killed at least 260 Syrian Kurdish fighters and IS militants in its 4-day-old offensive into the Kurdish-dominated Afrin region of northwest Syria. US President Donald Trump plans to raise concerns with Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan in a phone call about Ankara's offensive against US-backed Kurdish YPG forces in Afrin. The Kremlin said that President Vladimir Putin had discussed Turkey's military operation in Syria's Afrin with Erdogan by phone, and that Syria's territorial integrity and sovereignty had to be respected. Video posted on social media purported to show armed Kurdish fighters exchanging fire with Turkish forces some 20 kilometers north of Afrin. The Turkish incursions had targeted the US-backed Syrian Kurdish YPG, viewed by Ankara as a terrorist group and an extension of the Kurdistan Workers' Party PKK, which has fought an insurgency in Turkey's largely Kurdish southeast since 1984. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, a Britain-based war monitor, said 23 civilians had been killed in Turkish shelling and airstrikes, and thousands were fleeing the fighting. Citing local sources, a United Nations report said Turkey's military offensive against the US-backed YPG militia in Syria had displaced an estimated 5,000 people in Afrin district, but some of the most vulnerable people could not flee. The report said United Nations stands ready to deliver aid to 50,000 people in Afrin and has supplies for 30,000 in case of further displacement into areas controlled by the Syrian government in Aleppo Governorate.
Confrontations between young Palestinians and Israeli soldiers have taken on a life of their own since the Palestinian leaders called for protests against Donald Trump's decision to treat Jerusalem as Israel's capital. While Hamas, Fatah and other groups call for a weekly show of strength on Fridays, dozens of protesters turn out along the border between Gaza and Israel every day. When last Friday a protest was called off due to bad weather.
Some wear the colors of various factions vying to lead the drive for a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital, but others have no affiliation, a sign of alienation that makes the political situation more volatile. The Hamas and Fatah groups have been long rivals and have failed to achieve any lasting unity agreement in years of off and on negotiations. Hamas seized control of the Gaza Strip from Fatah forces in 2007.
Young Palestinians are different from the older generation. The gap that we currently see between the 18 to 22 and the 50 and above is the largest we have ever seen. There is a significant disconnect between these two age groups. One of the most critical areas in which they are different is the commitment to the political system. The youth believe that the system is no longer serving the interests of the Palestinians or their interests, that it is becoming authoritarian and corrupt and can never become democratic.
Conscious of the growing influence of the youth due to their ballooning numbers, both Hamas and Fatah have recently tried to court them, holding large separate meetings in Gaza to convince them to back a reconciliation. But as the daily scene of the border shows, young Palestinians are increasingly beyond reach, put off by a 4-year stalemate in peace talks with Israel and little progress towards healing internal rifts.
The youth do not want this current political system to last. They want to overthrow that. They don't know how, and they are not organized enough, and they do not have an effective leadership to help them do that. So this rejection sort of forces them to turn away from it and sit on the sideline. This doesn't prevent them from developing ideas.
Their growing frustration surfaces in social media criticism of their leaders that is met with an increasingly authoritarian response. They say the more alienated they feel, the greater the likelihood they will take to the streets to protest.
Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger says that Alexis Sanchez is a great person after the Chilean completed a transfer to Manchester United on Monday.
Speaking at the club training ground near London, Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger said that Alexis Sanchez had always been committed to Arsenal despite the long negotiations around his transfer to United.
Sanchez is a great guy and has always been committed, whether the negotiations go well or not well. It has never affected him. I would just like to remind you that I took him to the hotel on the night before the Crystal Palace game, and he was completely focused and ready to play the next day. Until I told him, look, you can go home, the deal is over the line. So what he did, but no matter how the negotiations went, he was always fully focused on football.
Sanchez has been replaced by Hendrik Mkhitaryan, who joined Arsenal from United also on Monday, with Wenger saying that the Armenian was a world-class player to replace a world-class player. Wenger also admitted that the club are interested in the signing of Borussia Dortmund's Gabonese striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, but said that they are not close to a deal for the player.
Wonder Woman fails to conquer Oscar waters despite riding to one of the biggest box office hits of 2017 on a wave of female empowerment, making it one of the biggest snubs for Hollywood's highest honors.
Featuring Gal Gadot as the sword-wielding Wonder Woman, the movie was the first stand-alone female superhero film since 2005 and earned some $825 million globally, making its filmmaker Patty Jenkins the highest-grossing female director in Hollywood. But at Oscar nominations, Jenkins was left off the director's race and the film was snubbed in the Best Picture category. James Franco was excluded from the Best Actor race for The Disaster Artist after facing accusations of sexual misconduct earlier this month following his Golden Globe win. Franco said the accusations were not accurate. The Disaster Artist, which is a comedy about the worst Hollywood film ever made, received early awards attention, but on Tuesday only landed one Oscar nomination for Adapted Screenplay. Other snubs included Steven Spielberg in the directing race for press freedom movie The Post and its star Tom Hanks. German film In the Fade, which won the Golden Globe for Best Foreign Language Film and received praise for its lead star Diane Kruger, was left out of the Oscar Foreign Language race. Neither Kruger or the film's director Fatih Akin garnered a nod. The Oscars will be handed out on March 4th.
And that's all we have for you right now. Thank you for watching. Have a very pleasant day.